Developing this morning, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that former President Trump wants Mitch McConnell gone and has recently spoken with senators and allies about whether any Republicans are interested in mounting a challenge to the Senate Minority Leader. Now, sources tell the Journal that so far there is little appetite among the Senate GOP for such a plan. We're back now with Maggie Haberman and John Avlon. Maggie, this is an interesting one, because Mitch McConnell is someone that most Republicans, they don't want to go up against. You're even seeing major Trump allies that are not getting on board with this.
I think this is a couple of things, Brianna. I think this is Trump trying to, flex a muscle. I think this is Trump trying to stay relevant, frankly. And I think that it is just his ongoing personal animus with Mitch McConnell. But I don't think that there is he is not having any luck trying to recruit a challenger, and B, if you read the Wall Street Journal story, the Trumpiest candidates in there who you'd think would be the likeliest to go with him still wouldn't say that they think that McConnell should go. So I think that Trump is going to have to be careful what fights he chooses within the Republican Party. The Senate is not the House. His power is not the same in the Senate, and it certainly isn't the same in terms of trying to overcome McConnell. We have seen that on a number of occasions. So I don't know, whether there's a long-term goal here. My sense is that this has not been that serious around Trump. It's certainly something he is talking about, but I think this is going to be potentially for him a test that points to less strength than he would like to show.
Well, that's exactly the point, Avlon. Why is he doing something, clearly he doesn't realize he is, that's going to point to the boundaries of his influence here?
Because he doesn't care. I mean, the Trump aides always talk about him as a honey badger, and he's not president anymore, so he doesn't have institutional power. But in some ways, that further unleashes him. And look, the constant drumbeat of demonizing Mitch McConnell may not be taking any takers inside the U.S. Senate, but among the base, you can be damn sure that it does. And this is just what it shows people in the Senate, whether you're Mitch McConnell, any of his lieutenants, or the lowliest backbencher to the extent that exists, is should remind folks that loyalty is a one-way street with Donald Trump. And the steps that were taken not to put him out of the game through impeachment, through really taking the January 6th Commission seriously, frankly, through invoking the 14th Amendment, all that has a consequence. He is going to come and try to burn your house down one way or the other.
So we learned, Maggie, that the Biden administration, obviously, overnight, is having another issue that kind of contributes to the domestic agenda hits that he's been taking. Senate Democrats, they're not going to be able to include a pathway to legalization for millions of immigrants in their $3.5 trillion bill after some new guidance from the Senate parliamentarian. Where does this put them?
So they're going to attempt to try to revisit this, Brianna. There are going to be, there's, I think, 4 different efforts that pro-immigration reform advocates have been making in terms of the Senate parliamentarian. They are going to come back at this. The White House made clear they're going to come back at this on other pieces, but certainly it is a hit. And it is also just a reminder that this White House is playing this sort of triangulation move of, we're not going to have Congress, we're not going to push Congress to pass legislation. We are going to try other maneuvers because the majority is so slim and because there are so many members who might not go along with this. It avoids putting pressure on them. But at the end of the day, a key piece of immigration reform still doesn't get done. It's a blow any way you look at it, even for the people who say they were expecting it.
Yeah, this is key, John, to President Biden's agenda. He wants to move this thing along, and here you see that roadblocks are coming up against it.
They absolutely are. I think it shows the limits to larding up what you can pass in reconciliation. I don't think folks should get over themselves and say, the Biden agenda is doomed, but there are some serious hurdles, and this dream has a deadline on it, and the Biden administration needs to be totally focused on passing this. You can't make the perfect enemy of the good. I think they know that. They need to start acting that way.
Yeah, it's like, where is the finish line in this race?
Joining us now is Scott Jennings, CNN political commentator, a former advisor to Mitch McConnell. I'm not sure how former, frankly. So, Scott, Donald Trump wants Mitch McConnell out as minority leader. How nervous is McConnell this morning?
Not very. I mean, honestly, this is a continuation of what Donald Trump's posture has been towards McConnell since McConnell decided that Joe Biden had been elected president of the United States. And what I thought was telling about the Wall Street Journal article that came out about this yesterday is that not a single person would take Donald Trump up on his offer. I mean, even Mo Brooks, perhaps the Trumpiest candidate out there wouldn't take him up. Josh Mandel in Ohio wouldn't take him up on it. And the sitting members of the Republican conference that they interviewed all said Mitch McConnell's doing a good job. And John Kennedy of Louisiana said it's like trying to teach a donkey how to fly. So this is one of those situations where you have to have a plan. The reason McConnell has been successful at getting elected leader and winning his elections in Kentucky is because he always has a plan. Donald Trump never has a plan and thinks he can speak these things into existence. But I would just say McConnell has never lost an election, ever. He's never been beaten in Kentucky, and he's never lost a leadership election. And Donald Trump, of course, has tried twice and has gotten fewer votes than his opponent twice. So in a head-to-head matchup here on a leadership election, I think Mitch McConnell has a track record that tells us he'll be elected leader again if he'd like to be.
What does this tell you about Donald Trump's power with Republicans in the Senate?
It's always been different in the Senate, I think, than in the House and in other races. These senators, I think, have their own individual identities. They have their own individual brand. It's a little different kind of chamber than the House and other offices. And I think if you are one of these people that wants to have your own identity and brand, you have to ask yourself, do I want Donald Trump effectively in charge of my life every day? Because then it becomes about him. It becomes about his priorities. It becomes about his daily emotions. And it's less about you. One of the hallmarks of McConnell's leadership in the Senate has been he does more listening than talking. And that would be the opposite if Donald Trump were the de facto head of the Senate Republican Conference. You have to listen to him. You have to get on his line every day. And that effectively takes away your own identity and your own brand and your own wants and needs of any given day for your state. So I think that is why McConnell has really had the longevity that he has. He doesn't make it about him. He does listening. And when he can, drives as much unity in the conference as he can. Under Trump, you would get, I think, more discord, more disunity, more division. And a legislative conference, it just doesn't work.
Can I ask very quickly? McConnell had a chance to do more to diminish the power of Donald Trump even more. He could have voted to convict him in the Senate impeachment trial in February. He could have supported the bipartisan commission looking into January 6th. He could be speaking out. He doesn't like speaking out publicly about Donald Trump forward-looking. He says, in fact, he would support him if he's the Republican nominee in 2024. Does Mitch McConnell regret not trying to diminish further Trump's power?
McConnell's belief about his position is that it's his job to drive as much unity in the Republican Party as possible and to drive forward Republican principles and Republican policy ideas as much as possible and to stop the Democrats' ideas. That's what he views his job is. And in the Republican conference, if you look at all the quotes that were given by all the senators, they say Mitch McConnell is doing a good job because he's doing what we want him to do. It would be a fool's errand, frankly, to run out every day and have a press conference and screaming about Donald Trump if you're Mitch McConnell. Other people can do it, and other people have done it. In his position, his job is to drive unity within the Republican conference, and they believe, by the way, unity leads to winning. Ultimately, this question is who can get the Republicans back the majority in the Senate. That's all McConnell really cares about. You'll notice he never talks about Donald Trump because he doesn't think it serves his end to get control back for the Republicans in the Senate. That's the kind of discipline, frankly, that's required to be a legislative leader in this environment, and it's the kind of discipline that Trump never had when he was president of the United States. What Trump does works for Trump, but it just wouldn't work for McConnell, and it certainly wouldn't work for anybody who seeks to run the Senate Republican Conference when they don't want it to be about you, they want it to be about unity and the team.